Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Conversations with Rob. Obviously, if you're watching this, you definitely heard us on our 10 radio stations that we're on, rather. And thanks for listening to our podcast on YouTube. This will obviously be on the regular radio broadcast also. We have a special guest on today's show. She is running for Senate in Delaware, and it's Lauren Witzke. Did I say your name right?
Yes, you did. Yes,
Okay,
it's
great.
Witzke. Yep, good job.
Lauren Witzke, I heard of her because I'm an avid listener and friend of Dan Gaffney, who's in Delaware in Sussex County, and she's from Sussex County. So, Lauren, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Everybody loves Dan Gaffney, so.
He does. I agree with him some of the time. We go back and forth, but we have a good time.
Yes.
So for the viewers that don't know, because we have viewers from all over the country, we have Democrats and Republicans that listen to this. Can you tell them a little bit about you growing up and just a little bit about yourself in general?
Okay, so yes, I am running for U.S. Senate in the state of Delaware. My history is a little different for those who haven't heard my story. So I went to high school here in Delaware. I graduated from Goldey Beacom College with a business degree here in Delaware. After I graduated college, I found myself, I actually got a job with a pharmaceutical company. I was working for them. And from there, I started taking pain medication, antidepressants, anxiety medicine. Fast forward a few months, actually, not even a year, and I was found myself in a full-blown IV heroin addiction. From there, I found myself in Tennessee. I was moving drugs for the Mexican drug cartels. I was moving drugs for the gangs of like Detroit area, back and forth from Tennessee to Michigan. So I found myself hopelessly addicted in a situation that I never imagined in a million years I'd find myself in. You know, I wasn't this kind of person. It wasn't like one day I woke up and was like, oh, I'm gonna be a drug dealer today. And so I really, it was just a hopeless situation, and I found myself in it. I got a phone call one day from my parents who said, hey, listen, we have heard of this program. We'd like for you to check it out. It was actually after Donald Trump was elected. There was like a lot of hostility between me and these people I was working for, especially with the whole Build the Wall campaign, because I'd like to really push on the fact that heroin and methamphetamine aren't manufactured in the United States. They aren't from here. They're brought in from Central America, especially where our nation has no border. So we knew when that wall went up, that meant that there would be a significant decrease in the drug flow and the availability to bring the drugs here in the United States. So I don't know, I guess I can explain it how I just had like these radical encounters with the Lord where he had called me to government. I saw that there was no possible way that I could get there without him. So I really submitted to the process of recovery. I went through the program Teen Challenge. It's a year-long faith-based residential program. And I just really dove into God's word. And I started to realize that everything that the Lord had been speaking to me about this president lined up with his word, like every word. And I really just basked myself in it. And I relearned a new way of life. I relearned who I was, who my identity was. And I really I came out, I graduated from the program just with a fire in my bones to really just help restore this nation. After I graduated from Teen Challenge, I got a job working for an entertainment tour called the Trump 2020 Tour. So we would host other candidates, conservative candidates, of course, and have conservative speakers, celebrity speakers come in and use these celebrity speakers to draw the audience for these candidates so they could have an audience, fundraise for them, and increase awareness about them. During that time, I started, I heard plenty of different candidates' platforms, and I realized not all the issues that I felt needed to be addressed were being addressed. From there, I was recruited by the Republican Party of Iowa. I went out and worked on the Trump victory campaign, so I learned how to run a campaign. It was awesome. I had a great time. I came home over Christmas break back to Delaware and found out that all my friends were dead. All my friends had overdosed or were still in active addiction. We hit a record number of overdoses just last year with 400 people overdosed. You will not find one family in the state of Delaware who has not been affected by the opioid epidemic. So it's like something I'm really passionate about. I take it very personally. However, my platform, I threw my hat into the ring. Nobody else was running for this seat against Chris Coons. And I really just want to tackle on the opioid epidemic issue head on. One of my biggest platforms is I'm running on a America First platform, and addressing the opioid epidemic is one of the biggest things that I'm passionate about.
Right. So let's backpedal a little bit because you covered a lot in that. First of all, I want to get back into that. How was that? I mean, we talk about we hear about that in the news about the drug cartels and stuff.
Yes.
Is that like, how did you even get out of that? Because I know you talked about the teen challenge and stuff.
Right.
These guys,
Right.
I'm sure if they saw that you were trying to get out, it's like a regular gang. They'll try to kill you.
It's true.
Yeah. So how was that? Like, how did you avoid them basically killing you in plain English and getting out of that situation?
Well, I kind of just slipped out and I disappeared. I didn't tell them, hey, I'm going to go do this. Like, I saw the direction, like where it was going. I saw that if I had stayed, I was going to die. Like, I just knew that. And so I just kind of left, and I still don't really, and I walked away from all of it. Like, I just cut off everything and walked away. I don't really know, if I'm still in danger, probably. Yeah. But I did. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Lauren.
That's okay.
Quick thing. So when I know you say you cut off communication, has anybody tried to find you or contact you, not that you know of? Or?
No, but one thing you need to realize is that they see us as especially the people, the bottom feeder drug runners, for them, they're very disposable. They will sell drugs to them that they know are laced. They probably, I'm assuming they maybe thought I overdosed, I'm guessing, or just fell off the map. We were so disposable to them that I'm probably not even a thought in their mind.
Right. We talked about drugs on a podcast before. We were talking about marijuana, and the man that I talked to about that, he had been in jail for 30 years on a marijuana charge. Yeah, it was pretty insane. This was back in the 70s, but he had served the longest sentence. And he was telling me about a lot of the drugs now, and since you were involved in that, there's a lot of drug trade where the drugs are laced with all sorts of chemicals that can really affect your body, pesticides. He was more and so just talking about marijuana. Have you heard about that also? And is that a big problem also?
A lot of the drugs you're going to find are laced with fentanyl. Fentanyl is very inexpensive. It's way more potent. I think it's like 10 times more potent than heroin itself. So you can use fentanyl and cut it with other things and really just maximize your money on it. Well, this is the way the dealers think. And it's far more dangerous. That's why we had a rash epidemic of overdoses, was because the drugs were laced with fentanyl, and a lot of them still are, because it's way cheaper than heroin.
So how have you used, and I know you talked about this in the interview with Dan Gaffney, but can you tell the viewers about how you've helped a lot of people? Because as we said, and it's not just in Delaware, but it's all over the country,
Right.
Big in the Midwest too, that
Right.
these issues are going on with the opioid crisis. How are you trying to help people, see, you saw the light and you're in recovery and going on
Right.
a year, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Going on a year in recovery?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And with
2
that,
years, 2 years. I've been out of
years.
Teen Challenge for a year. Yes.
All right. So congratulations to
Thank
that.
you.
So how do you help people that are still going through this crisis?
So after I graduated from Teen Challenge, I actually stayed on as an intern, and then I actually became the director of the program. So I helped other girls walk through what I had walked through and help them achieve their recovery as well. Teen Challenge offers a 70 to 80% success rate. That means that 7 people that walk through the doors, or if 10 people walk through the doors of Teen Challenge, 7 of them are never going to use again, which is just exponential. This is incredible. And I'm really focusing on federal funding, providing federal funding for Teen Challenge, because if we're going to fund something, let's fund something that works, that we know works. There is validity in the results that it produces. And Teen Challenge is just, I'm a full-on advocate for it. I think that it is, if we could provide the funding for it, because a lot of the teen challenges are understaffed and underfunded. If they were provided this funding, we can really work together to really solve the opioid epidemic and provide recovery solutions. The biggest problem is there are no long-term recovery centers, especially here in the state of Delaware. The people don't have options. And, Teen Challenge, they can't take health insurance. They can't take, they run solely on donations. So really funding them and funding a solution for the opioid epidemic is really just what I'm trying to do.
All right. Lastly, on the opioid crisis, and then I want to move into more of Coons and other things going on in Delaware. With the opioid crisis, do you feel like there is a solution? I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this started where, for instance, I have a family member that went for a knee operation. They gave her a big thing of pain pills, and that's where it starts, something like that. You go to the dentist, you go for a toothache, they give you more pills.
Right.
So do you feel like that it's more of a doctor, where the doctors are pushing out these pills to people, they get addicted, and that's how they're searching and using, and then they start going into other drugs? Do you feel like that's the main issue of how this started?
Yeah, I really do. That's how my addiction started. Was I had a surgery, I was prescribed pain medication, and then I was given another prescription for it. And then I started buying them off the streets when I got cut off, like that kind of thing. So yes, I do absolutely agree with you. I believe that not necessarily marijuana is the great gateway drug that they say it is. I believe that it is the overprescribing of pain medications from our doctors. Yes.
How do we stop that? Is that more of a healthcare issue through like a healthcare reform? We have to look at that, or would you be able to pass a bill if you made it to the Senate or something to that effect? Because you know the issue firsthand. How
Right.
would you put an end to it?
Well, I definitely would consider more accountability on the end of the doctors, because I see a lot of doctors overprescribing to pill seekers. I see pill mills. We call them pill mills. It's just a revolving door of pill seekers. And then they deny disabled veterans pain medication. So it's like, I don't really know what's going on. I know that there's a solution for it, and I definitely will pursue it.
All right. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Let's move on to Delaware. But first of all, I want to know, where did you get your political ideology of being a Trump supporter, conservative?
Well, it actually, after seeing firsthand in the situation that I was in, the whole Build the Wall campaign changed everything for me, because I knew that as soon as that wall went up, actually my generation may actually be able to survive this. I may actually be able to survive this, because I just assumed that for the rest of my life, that was what I was going to do. I was just going to use drugs, sell drugs, and die, and that really just inspired it gave me hope. His whole presidency gave me hope. And when he won, it changed everything for me.
Right. Just to push back a little bit on the Build the Wall, with that, we hear from the other side and other people, a lot of these big businesses hire, I'm in Florida right now. You see the big agricultural companies, they hire for picking oranges, a lot of these illegals or immigrants that Americans don't want to do that job. But we see that Americans don't want to do that job because they don't pay a fair wage. They pay them $2 an hour. So I can see from both sides. But what would you say to people that do give that argument? Say, hey, Americans don't want to do that job, so we have to have these illegals do the job.
Right. Well, they say that, but I don't believe that's necessarily true. I believe that Americans want to do those jobs. Americans used to do those jobs.
Yeah.
There's a prime example here. We live in a tourist state where we bring in a lot of immigrants to do the jobs that our teens should be doing. And that's something that I agree with you 100%. Fair wages for workers. I'm very pro-worker. Part of being America First is being pro-worker. And, I do believe that Americans want these jobs, and I do believe that they deserve fair wages for them. Mass immigration is pushing our wages down and we're competing for these jobs. And it just makes it more difficult on the American people to have children, get married and have children. And that's what this is all about. We want to make it easier for people my age, your age, younger generation to get married and have children.
We're both around the same age at 30. I'm at 30. So
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying on that. I want to move on to, I'm sure you get this asked, and I don't believe this question should be asked to you or any first-time candidates, but they always ask the first-time candidates, why are you running for Senate? Why are you running for the House? Why don't you run for the councilman or councilwoman or some local race? So how do you answer that when people ask you that?
Right. Well, it was also I initially wanted to run for US House. However, there's somebody already running. I want to be a team player. Nobody was running for Senate. And also it works out with the longevity of the term. There will actually be time for me to get in there, write these bills, write these laws, push these, and be able to make the change. So it's really it's something that I'm not going to compromise on. Like, I'm not one of these compromising candidates. Like, I'm really here because I want to help and I care. And it's something that, I'm really excited because the longevity of the term will allow me to do this.
Agreed. And I think more people of our age need to definitely run for office. There's too many old men in there for sure. Anyways, besides that point, do you have any people that when you've kind of went door to door say, hey, maybe I'll take a chance on you, but you may be a little bit young. Does anybody say that?
Nobody has really pushed back on my age.
Mhm.
So far, I haven't had, and if they are thinking that, they haven't said it to my face. So.
All right, just a question about that. So let me ask you this. You live in Delaware. I'm originally from Rhode Island. Like I said, I'm in
Nice.
Florida now, but same as Rhode Island. It's full of Democrats. I call it the corrupt Democratic Party in Rhode Island because they don't vote for the people at all, period. Delaware sees the same thing. Every pretty much state office is full of Democrats. You've got John Carney. Joe Biden was in the Senate for many upon years. I mean, it's been a Democratic cycle throughout that state. How are you going to win in a state that, even though these Democrats are neoliberal Democrats, how are you going to beat these people? Because they just keep voting the same people in plain English.
Yeah. So because we're America First, we're very pro-worker. So we will be hitting, Delaware is blue because of labor. It's not blue because of social justice warriors, So it's something that we're really going to be targeting the unions. We are there for them. Part of being America First is having fair wages for workers. We support their right to collective bargaining. We support anything that makes it easier for them to have children and raise families. So, and that's a message that resonates with anybody, Democrat, Republican, it's our message that we're going to be bringing to them.
Well, I would say Chris Clunes is a flip-flop. He used to be a Republican. Now he's a Democrat. I think he switched to be a Democrat because he wanted to win statewide office. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And it's just getting our message out there and getting to them. So we're hitting the ground really hard.
All right, a few more questions on Delaware. What are the main issues? I mean, we talked about the opioid crisis, but what are the other main issues we're hearing from Delawareans?
A lot of student loan debt. That is something also that I want to address as well. Accountability for these colleges. No matter what, they get the money and the student is left after they graduate with a buttload of debt that they can't pay back because they can't get a job. So student loan debt is something also that I will be addressing, accountability for the colleges. So when they're taking on the risk, when the students are taking on the risk of taking out these loans and paying these colleges all this money, that the colleges will share equal risk in the student's success as well.
All right.
So also that, and healthcare is something that I'm really going to be addressed, where we can find solutions for this, because our healthcare system is so bad. I can't afford healthcare. Nobody really my age that I've been talking to can afford healthcare. Anybody, the average American family can't afford it. So this is something that also I'm going to be addressing.
All right. I want to move on to political issues and opinions from you. You do talk a lot about families. We see, and we talked about it a little bit in the interview, people like you and me that are in the young generation, we're waiting a little bit longer to find families. Jobs are not around, good paying jobs. Like our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, they had pensions, they had health care. As we talked about it, how can we fix this? I mean, we see a little bit of improvement in the wage growth in the past couple of years. but it's still small. A lot of service jobs. I see it down here in Florida. As you said, with Delaware also being a tourism state, just low minimum wage paying jobs. How do we fix that?
Well, I think there's multifaceted ways to address this. I think vocational training, I would like to bring back a focus on trade schools. Trade schools, when people graduate, they have a job waiting for them, paying $50,000 or more. That's something that is a big part of my platform as well. Mass immigration also, I think that having that competition here really makes these jobs unavailable for people like us, because why would they hire an American who needs twice as much money as an immigrant who will come here and work for half as much? So that's also, it's a multifaceted issue, right, that I believe my platform addresses on many levels.
You talked a little bit about immigration, and I do agree that there was a big problem in immigration, but I feel like with now, it's starting to get a little bit more under control. I do feel like, well, first of all, before I say my piece, what is your position on immigration? We talked about building the wall,
right,
but a wall is a wall. We actually saw that in a news report, some of the wall fell down a little bit. So is that really the issue? Is it more about like, making sure that Mexico has some sort of initiative with this? Because a lot of the people coming over there, a lot of people overstay in their visas too. They come over here from, it's not just Mexico, it's from Brazil, and we see that a lot down here in Florida and other countries, and we have no control. I don't know what ICE, I mean, I know they've done some raids and stuff, but we got to get some of these people that overstay out. So what is your opinion on
right.
that?
Well, also, I should mention that when I was working for these cartel families, they were all here 100% legally. So there are certainly issues within our immigration system that need to be addressed. I support a full 10-year moratorium on immigration, netting at zero, which means that as people migrate out of the country, as we remove these cartel families, then we can bring people in based on merit. I feel like our immigration system certainly needs to be reformed. The immigration moratorium for 10 years would reduce immigration from 1 million to about roughly 200,000. So I feel like we have serious issues here in the United States. We have an opioid epidemic. We have a single father. We have, epidemic as well. We also have disturbed healthcare. So these are issues that we need to address here. And then maybe we can open up our doors back up in 10 years.
I agree with you 100%, but do you feel like that's against the country? Because as a country, we're a nation full of immigrants. I'm Italian. The Italians came over. The Irish came over. You could say the settlers came over in Thanksgiving from a new world. They discovered America. Christopher Columbus was Italian too.
Right.
Do you feel like that's going against our country's values, though, saying that?
No, because I believe that we founded this country. We didn't just discover it. We founded it and we built it.
Right.
That's what America is. It's everything. It's our values. It's our families. It's our culture that we founded and we built.
Right. Fair. The Second Amendment, we see that's a big issue. As a person that is a teacher too, with besides this radio show, I see it every day. I kind of scared for my life to go into school sometimes because you never know what's going to happen. They did pass a law, I know you're not in Florida, but they did pass a law in Florida where they have some teachers with guns. They have some school administration with guns, and also police officers in the school. What is your take on the Second Amendment, but also the school issue?
Well, so I'm very pro Second Amendment. I do not support red flag laws. That is something that President Trump and I disagree on, and that's okay. Just because I believe that they can be, these red flag laws can be weaponized against conservatives specifically. Our governor just had a town hall the other day I went to, and he was bragging about how they've taken the guns of 34 people here in the state of Delaware. So that is something that I very much so am adamant against, is the red flag laws. As far as students, you're talking about teachers being trained, and I think personally, I think would be actually a very good idea. You would think twice before going into a school and shooting up if you knew that the teachers were armed and trained and ready and prepared to, retaliate and protect their students.
I do worry about the teacher thing from my aspect of being in the school, because For instance, say I had a gun and some kid came up and hit me over the head with some kind of metal pipe, or regardless of what it is, or
Right.
punch me in the face. I drop the gun. The kid gets the gun. He can do whatever he wants. So there are issues with that, but I do agree with you. I think more of a police thing. We need to have a police present. But it is sad that that's how the country's gotten, where we have to worry about. And is mental health in your platform about with healthcare in general? Because this issue goes a lot with mental health care. We need to
Yeah.
make sure these people have, mental health issues to get
And have
taken care of.
access to mental health care. Mental health is really important, and it's something also like my whole platform is a part of that, because when people graduate from college, they're so in debt, they can't keep up, they can't get a job, we get depressed, we succumb to things like drugs, alcohol, and just kind of give up. A lot of our family issues, a lot of trauma happens from the broken families that we have here, and it's just everything comes back to restoring the family.
Do you
As a
feel?
huge
Oh,
issue.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And having a healthcare available as well for these people who struggle with mental health. That's very important to me as well.
Do you feel like, last question on the Second Amendment, do you feel like the Democrats saying, like we had Beto O'Rourke came out in the primary when he was running, saying he wanted to get everybody's guns and saying this kind of language, and I know you're more on a conservative, but do you feel like them saying that makes, the case of saying, you have a Democratic candidate come up for president against President Trump saying I'm Second Amendment, but here you have all these other people that are in the Democratic Party saying they want to take the gun. So somebody like, and I know you don't agree with this person, that's Bernie Sanders, that lives in Vermont, but he's more of a, not a huge gun rights guy, but he's more of a little bit of a gun rights guy. They push against him and say that he's, some right-wing guy when he's definitely not
Right.
on guns. So do you feel like that's an issue with the Democratic Party about the Second Amendment?
Well, see, keep in mind also, Beto O'Rourke was not supposed to say that. That's why afterwards, after he said, hell yeah, we're going to take your AR, his numbers completely dropped, because you have a lot of pro Second Amendment Democrats. So interestingly enough, look at Governor Northam in Virginia. He didn't run on a anti-gun platform whatsoever. He waited till he was elected and then started passing legislation or pushing for legislation to take away these people's guns. Bernie is a populist. I don't dislike Bernie at all. I think that he's compromised on a lot of things that he shouldn't have compromised on, and he didn't have to, especially on his immigration policies. Right. There's a lot of things that I like about Bernie. If he's pro Second Amendment, that doesn't surprise me, because he's a populist. So, yeah.
I know a lot of Trump supporters that all said they would vote for Bernie if Trump wasn't running. So I agree with you there on that. So I know a lot of people like that. I want to move on to the Trump 2020 in the end of our interview, as far as talking about President Trump, because I do have a lot of Democratic people watching this. That's why I have to play devil's advocate with you and, have you explain a little bit. And I appreciate you doing that. So the Trump 2020 thing, we see the economy is going up. We see the stock market is sky high. But we also see issues, as you spoke about, with the healthcare issue. I know Trump tried to pass that in the 2017, and the John McCain and the Democrats voted against that. But, we've seen the debacle, and you've been to Iowa, what happened with the debacle of the Iowa caucuses. And I thought that was a huge win for Donald Trump with that debacle. He has praised that, and more pound to him for that. What's your take on the Trump 2020 bid so far?
So I think it's looking really good for Trump. I think that a Bernie Sanders ticket will definitely give him a run for his money, because, yeah, and I think he's probably the only one. I don't think we're ready for a Pete Buttigieg right now. Yeah, I don't think we're ready. I don't think the American people are ready for that. But keep an eye out on him, because he seems to be the one. I thought it was going to be Biden, but Biden got slammed out in Iowa, so it doesn't look good for him. And the more he just talks, worse, he kind of sets it up for himself, Biden. So I definitely think that it's going to be an interesting year. I think it's going to be a good year, but I'm optimistic. It's looking really good for Donald Trump, especially with the results he's producing. I mean, he's been in office 3 years, and look at everything that he's accomplished. We have the lowest Black unemployment rate. We have the lowest minority unemployment rate. We have the wall. We have just like trillions of dollars in misspending coming back to the United States. The economy is the best it's ever been in a long time. So I'm really optimistic in Donald Trump's re-election, but I'm interested to see who the Democrat nominee is going to be.
Well, I believe that they're going to try to rig it when they already have against Bernie Sanders, and I think that's sad. Even if you're a Republican, like I said, I know a lot of Republicans that like Bernie, and they're even saying that too. But what is the take in Delaware right now on? I mean, Sussex County is more of a Republican area, but when you're running all around the state, what is your take? What is their take, rather, from what you hear about President Trump?
Well, like you said, Sussex County is very conservative, the county
Yes.
that I'm currently in. As you go further north, it's more blue, but even the blue areas recognize the economic benefits of having President Trump in office and having a U.S. senator who has the ear of the president. Chris Coons has done a really good job alienating himself from our president and being unwilling to work with him on issues, even if they'll help the state of Delaware. He's been more focused on the impeachment as opposed to policy and progress here in the state of Delaware. He really hasn't, he hasn't done us any favors. So,
let's talk about Chris Coons. He's on CNN every 20 seconds. He was talking about impeachment. Before that, he was talking about Russiagate. I mean, the guy is a total fraud to me in plain English. But let's talk about that. The Russiagate thing was a whole scam. What was your take on impeachment?
So I
didn't watch any of it.
I watched some of it, but I was just, they weren't giving us anything. Even they were running on this whole, like, the media. You'd look at the media and say that, oh, Trump committed all these crimes, but they didn't provide any evidence, no evidence whatsoever. So it was just, and Chris Coons going up there in front of the camera every second he could, talking about how the president's committed a crime. Oh, really? Well, show me, because they didn't provide anything. The whole thing was a sham, just like the Russia hoax with the Mueller report that came out. There was still nothing. If you can provide evidence that there was corruption, there was collusion, or whatever, then I would listen. However, they have failed to provide evidence. They have proven that they have had it out for Donald Trump since he was elected. And, it's really disappointing to see that they are so unwilling to work with him on the issues that we have and just focusing on the impeachment and getting him out of office, despite all the great things he's done for this nation.
Well, I agree with you. The Democratic Party fell when they screwed Bernie out of the nomination. And then afterwards with that, they put up Hillary Clinton, one of the most hated politicians in the country, probably the world. And they talk about Trump's corruption, which, me and you disagree. I do think he has a little bit of corruption, like any politician. But they don't talk about Hillary Clinton with the Uranium One deal. They don't talk about Joe Biden with Hunter Biden. And he got $80,000 to go work at some job as a consulting person, had no expertise in that oil issue. There's so much corruption. And the problem with the Democrats is they keep putting up these establishment people. The Republicans were doing that too. They wanted to prop Jeb Bush up, but the people didn't want that. That's why they voted for Donald Trump. And they try to do, and luckily we have people like you and other people that are running against the establishment. And that's what we need in this country, people that are young, fresh faces, and not just this establishment junk that's going on in the Democratic Party. And hopefully Trump gets it out of the Republican Party. Right,
for sure. I agree. I think more young people need to run. I think that it's our time to step up, because this establishment has done nothing for us. They've proven over and over again that they're only more interested in lining their own pockets and their own popularity as opposed to serving the people.
Have you spoke to the Trump campaign of when the president comes to Delaware? It seems like he's Every time the Democrats have a primary or caucus, he goes to the state the night before. He's in New Hampshire tonight doing a rally. Deb, you spoke to the president's campaign of when, I'm sure when they have the Delaware primary, he'll come over here and maybe do a stump for you? Or?
Oh, we would love that. I have spoken to our representative for the Trump campaign here in the state of Delaware. We're trying to get him to come to University of Delaware, so that would be something else. So we'll see.
Right. And lastly, I want to get a couple of quick questions about, special things about you, so people learn more about you. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color?
Yeah.
Navy blue.
All right, me too. Music?
Music. Okay, so I listen to the Lord of the Rings soundtracks. I do. I love Lord of the Rings. So everything Lord of the Rings. So I love the Hobbit soundtracks, the Lord of the Rings soundtracks. And I listen to a lot of worship music. So
So we're going to say the movie is the Lord of the Rings too, your favorite movie?
Absolutely. Hands down.
Nice and easy. Any special talents that you have?
I am an excellent singer. Who knew, right? So, yep.
Maybe if you get into the Senate, you can do some singing.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear
Maybe I'll
that.
sing the national anthem at some inauguration or something. That'd be great.
True. Good point. Lastly, Lauren, I appreciate all the time. Where can viewers find more about you, get involved with the campaign, donate to the campaign?
Rob, thank you so much for having me on. Viewers can visit my platform, my website, sign up to volunteer, and especially contribute at www.laurenwitzke.com. I have my flyer right here. My name is spelled W-I-T-Z, it's backwards, isn't it? W-I-T-Z-K-E .com. So you can go to my website. You can find me on Facebook, Lauren for Delaware, or Lauren Witzke for Delaware on Facebook. And you can follow my Twitter handle, which is at Witzke Rebellion. A little clever signal to the Whiskey Rebellion. Haha. But I think I'm funny.
I thought it was pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought it was clever. Not a lot of people get it, but I get it. So so you can see me there. Follow me on social media. Please volunteer. Please contribute. Please view my platform. And Rob, thanks again. I appreciate every opportunity to speak to the people and share my message.
Lauren, we definitely want to have you on again, and I would definitely publicize this for sure. Within this week, we'll have you on the radio also. Secondly, I hope you win, because we need to get people like these establishment types, as I said. They're not with the people. Chris Coons is more worried about his corporate backers than the American people. So I hope people like you and other young politicians get in power, because we need more people like you in the Senate and also in the House, and races on down ballot. So I appreciate you, Lauren, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob.
All right, thanks so much. Bye now.